Hello, and welcome to Sparks of Love.
Part 2. This is a continuation of the story. The link to the first part is in the description of this video. Enjoy watching. On Monday, I called the restaurant first thing and was told that they did have an opening. The hostess said that Wednesday night was booked, but tomorrow at 7:30 was available. I texted Melanie and KJ, letting them know we were set for 7:30 the next night. I got a text back immediately from KJ but didn't hear from Melanie until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It made me wonder what she had been doing now that Jack was unemployed. I could probably guess. Monday night, Melanie asked me if Jack could use me as a reference on his resume. Sure, I'll take phone calls from potential employers for him, I said. She came right back with, Mary would really appreciate it. I couldn't wait to get those calls. I'd clue them in on what a horn dog he is. Tuesday night, we had a great dinner. Melanie looked at the menu and asked, "Can we afford this?" "Sure, honey. I make good money. Why can't I splurge every once in a while?" We talked about old times, vacations, KJ's sports, and school. We chatted for an hour as we ate. It was good to reminisce. If this didn't get Melanie to come clean, I didn't think anything would. When we got home, KJ finished packing, and KJ and I took everything over to Kelly's so they could leave right after school. I spoke with Mr. Behrens and thanked him for taking KJ along. "Can I pay for her accommodations?" I asked. "She's staying in a room with Kelly, there's no extra charge, and I wouldn't think of taking money from you. It's our treat." "Well, thank you. I hope to repay you sometime," I said. "Don't even think about it," he said, and he actually sounded quite sincere. On the way home, I gave KJ a couple of $100 and told her to call me when she got back so I could pick her up. I would have some news for her then. She was curious and asked, "Tell me now." "No, when you get back. Just make sure you call me to pick you up," I reiterated. "Okay, Dad. Thanks. You're a great daughter. Make sure you behave while you're in Colorado." "I will, Dad." "I know you will." Then she said something that showed me how perceptive my daughter was. "I hope whatever has been bothering you for the last month gets resolved." She kissed my cheek, and we pulled into our garage. We got out, and she went to bed. I stayed up a little longer, just thinking. When I went to bed, Melanie was already asleep. I was glad she could sleep. I would have another restless night. Wednesday at work was probably a lot like most places. The day before Thanksgiving, production was low. Everyone wanted to start their long weekend early. Half the office staff left at noon. I was support for production, so I didn't leave until 4 o'clock. I got home ahead of Melanie, so I went down and checked the laptop. Mary had come over and was talking to Melanie about Jack. Mary was complaining that Jack was depressed and hadn't wanted to do anything, not even intimate. Well, a job is everything to a man. They get their self-worth from it. "He'll be okay when he gets another job," Melanie said. "Did you talk to Kurt about helping him out?" She asked. "He said he could use him as a reference. That should help him." They talked some more, but I wasn't listening. I was thinking to myself how Melanie could sit there and console Mary, knowing that she was screwing her husband. Later, there was a call from Jack. "Oh, hi Jack." Mary came over to talk. "She's just as clueless as Kurt. KJ is going to be gone until Sunday. I'll try to get together with you this weekend. I'm sure Kurt will have to go to the office for a while, he always does. I'll text you when I know more. Talk to you later, lover. I'll give you all the time you want." I actually said out loud to myself, "Thanksgiving." We made a nice lunch, not too big, but nice. Turkey breast, yams, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie. At around 2 o'clock, Brad called. I let Melanie answer the phone. I had it sitting on the kitchen counter. "Hello, CTS phone." "Oh, hi Mr. Bilson." "Sure, I'll get him. He's just in the other room." "Hi Brad, how are you?" "Happy Thanksgiving Day." "Well, here's your phone call. My wife couldn't believe I was bothering you on Thanksgiving. So, what's the verdict? Do you need me in New Jersey? I said kind of loudly, tonight? Really? On Thanksgiving? 7 o'clock at Detroit Metro. Yeah, I'll be there, honey. Brad needs me to fly to New Jersey tonight. They're having problems, and their department head is on vacation. Why do they need you to leave tonight? She asked. They have an automotive order that is due Monday morning, so they are working tomorrow and through the weekend to get it out by Sunday night. I have to ensure that they are ready for Monday morning. I even have to be at the GM plant to ensure the parts are perfect for the customer. It's called JIT, just-in-time inventory. If they go down because we don't have our parts to them, then we are stuck paying thousands of dollars to cover their downtime. It's the cost of doing business with the automakers, I explained. I've got to get ready to go. I need to be at the airport by 5 o'clock, I said as I hurried down the stairs to get my suitcase. I grabbed my suitcase and checked my laptop, making sure it was all set to record everything and was well hidden. Back upstairs, I said to Melanie, "Do you know where my toiletry kit is?" Last time I saw it, it was in the linen closet behind the shampoo. She said, "Thanks, honey. What would I do without you?" I hid the sarcasm well. I headed upstairs with the suitcase and laid out both good clothes, business casual, and bad clothes, since Melanie knew that I could get dirty at my job. I grabbed my underwear, socks, shoes, some shorts, swimming trunks for the hotel, t-shirts, and workout clothes. I also grabbed a suit, figuring I might be packing for more than a few days. Melanie came in and saw all the clothes on the bed. "Do you really need all those clothes?" she asked. "I never know what I'll need." "They may want me to talk to the GMX, I replied. "I still can't believe you have to leave on Thanksgiving," Melanie said. "I have to be at the plant at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather not have to catch a flight at 2 o'clock in the morning." "Well, I'll miss you," she said. I turned around and looked at her. The words sounded good, but the look on her face didn't reflect it. If Melanie did what I thought she was going to do, I bet those were just words. I threw the suitcase in the trunk of the car. I came back into the house and asked Melanie if she wanted to drive me or if I should leave my car in long-term parking. "If you drive me, you'll have to pick me up Monday afternoon," she said, considering her options. I knew what she was thinking. She hated driving in Detroit traffic, especially to the airport. But if she drove me, I wouldn't have a car and couldn't come home unexpectedly. "I'll drive you, honey. It's Thanksgiving. I'll miss you when you're gone. This will give me another hour or so to be with you." Wow, she was laying it on thick, I thought. "Okay, well, we should leave in about an hour. What do you want to do in the meantime?" I looked at her with that look. "We don't have time for that." "Maybe when you get back, or maybe not," she said. "All right, we'll just relax then," I said as I grabbed a beer from the refrigerator. I sat down on the couch and sipped my beer. She grabbed one and sat in the chair opposite me. "Sorry I have to leave, honey, but it is important," I said. "I know, sweetie. I'll just be alone for the whole weekend. I'll call Mary, go out to a movie, or something. She probably needs something to take her mind off Jack losing his job. Tell her you'll grab dinner while you're out." "Are you volunteering at the shelter again this Saturday?" "Yes, they have a big push for adoption from now until the end of the year." "Well, that takes care of Saturday. Are you going Black Friday shopping tomorrow morning?" "No, I don't really have anything to shop for that would make me want to go out in that crazy mess," she said. "Curl up with a good book then," I suggested. "Yeah, I'll find something to do," she replied. The ride to the airport was filled with more chit-chat. "Just drop me off in the front, honey," I said. She pulled up to the curb. I got out, grabbed my suitcase and garment bag from the trunk, and closed the lid. I walked around to the driver's side. She hadn't even gotten out to give me a goodbye hug. I gave her a peck on the lips and said, "I'll call you when I get into my hotel." "Okay, have a safe trip," she replied, slowly pulling away from the curb. I wondered if she noticed that neither of us said "I love you." I walked into the terminal and waited in the lobby for about 10 minutes to see if she would come back. No such luck. I went over to the car rental counter and rented a car for 4 days. Outrageous what they charge, but what can you do? I found the car, put my suitcase and garment bag in, and took off for a hotel not too far from home. I wanted to keep an eye on the house, see when she left, when she had visitors, and who. Obviously, I couldn't camp out in front, so I had to drive by occasionally. The car I rented was like every other car. I didn't want to stand out or be noticed. I drove by around 9 o'clock. No car lights were on, but I could see the TV was on. Well, I guess Jack couldn't leave his wife, child, and family on Thanksgiving. Probably tomorrow, though. I went back to the hotel and waited until 10 o'clock to call Melanie. Hey, just got in. I'm going right to bed. I need to be at the plant by 6 o'clock. Okay, honey. Thanks for calling. I miss you. Miss you too, I said. I did miss her. I missed the woman I fell in love with and married, not the woman she was now. Friday morning, I slept in. When I woke at 9:30, I had had a sound sleep, one I hadn't had in about 4 weeks. I got up, showered, dressed in jeans, a sweatshirt, and a baseball cap, and drove by the house around 10:15. There it was, Jack's car. It could be Mary's, though. I had to swing by the bank where she worked to see if she was there. How was I going to do that without her seeing me? I thought, just see if her car is there. It was. That settled it. Tomorrow, while Melanie is at work, I'll sneak in and get the evidence I need. I spent the day driving around Detroit. The city had its issues, but a few philanthropists were putting money back into it. It was coming back slowly with all its faults. I would still miss the place. I didn't bother calling Melanie that evening. If she wanted to talk to me, she could make the call. I got no call. Saturday morning, I had breakfast at a Denny's 15 miles from my house. I didn't want anyone recognizing me. I drove back to the house, parked around the corner, and slipped into the backyard. I hoped nobody saw me. I checked the garage to make sure her car was gone. It was. I slipped into the basement and checked the laptop. There it was, 3 videos from the bedroom from mid-morning yesterday. I downloaded the files to a zip drive and slipped back out to my car. I would view the files when I got to the motel. Then it dawned on me, how was I going to view them without a computer? So, I headed toward work. It was after 12 o'clock and the place was deserted. I opened the door with my key, went in, and relocked it. Then I went to my office, booted up my computer, stuck the zip drive in, and opened the file. The first image was of my wife walking and wearing a teddy, the teddy I bought her for our 15th anniversary, which she had never worn for me. My anger started to burn. Jack was shedding his clothes as fast as he could. "Wow, you look awesome in that," he said. "Did you buy it for me?" she asked. "No, Kurt bought it for me a couple of years ago, but I have never worn it," she replied. "Why not?" Jack asked. "Because I don't like having intimate with Kurt," she said. Jack looked puzzled. "But I do like having intimate with you," she added. That hit me like a ton of bricks. What was wrong with our intimate life? I thought back to when we were first dating. She was wild in bed, we both were. Our honeymoon was non-stop. We ate almost every meal from room service. Even the first year, we had intimate every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times, even when she was pregnant. We were at it like rabbits. Then, after KJ was born, it quickly went downhill. I know a new baby limits your time, and all you want to do is sleep when you can. However, when KJ was on a regular schedule, it never came back. I wondered what I had done to make her hate having intimate with me. When I looked back at the screen, they were in the midst of an intimate moment. He was on top of her, and their movements were intense. "Doesn't he treat you this way?" he asked. "Never," she replied. He then adjusted their position, and the scene continued with the same intensity. She was vocal in her responses, expressing a level of enthusiasm I hadn't heard from her in years. I had different angles of the scene from various cameras, but I decided I had seen enough. I paused the playback, printed the images, and closed the program. I'm sure Mary will find these useful, I thought as I left my office and considered the upcoming meeting with Brad. I would be starting the transfer process soon. I couldn't help but reflect on Melanie's contrasting desires. She seemed to seek something I couldn't provide. I spent the evening in the hotel, drinking beer and trying to escape my thoughts. The next morning, I woke up with a headache in a messy room. I showered and cleaned up, but the weight of my situation lingered. My marriage felt hollow, and the only bright spot was KJ. I grabbed a meal at Denny's, wanting to stay out of sight. I began to devise a plan for the future. I thought about how to handle the divorce in a way that would be most impactful. I envisioned presenting a scrapbook of our marriage photos, ending with a symbolic gesture, 17 red roses and 1 black rose, representing our years together and the recent turmoil. I'd include a collage of images from the weekend and have the divorce papers served. Timing it with her parents' visit would ensure she'd have to address everything in front of them. As I finalized my plans, KJ called. "Hi, KJ," I answered. "Hi, Dad. Mom mentioned you were out of town. Should I have her pick me up?" "No, I'll come get you." "Are you at the airport or the Barrens?" I asked. "I just got off the plane and am waiting for my luggage." "What's going on, Dad?" "I'll explain everything when I pick you up. Don't tell Mom anything, okay? Trust me." "You know I trust you, Dad." "Okay, I'll be there in about half an hour." "Sure, Dad. Text me when you're here, and I'll come out." I picked her up at the curb, and she looked at me with a worried expression on her face. "Okay, what's up?" "Your mom doesn't know it yet, but we're getting a divorce," I told her. "What?" she said, shocked. "KJ, before you left, you mentioned something about me not being right for about a month. You are a very perceptive young woman. You're not sick, are you?" she asked worriedly. "No, KJ. I am sick, and I'm sorry I have to tell you this, but we'll get through this. On Halloween, I finally realized that your mother has been cheating on me." "What?" "Yes, dear. It has been going on since at least the 4th of July. I have proof, but let's just say that I will not be reconciling with her. She has said and done things that make it impossible for me to continue and still keep my self-respect. However, I need you to play along with me until the 20th of December. That's when I will be dropping the bomb on her. Grandma and Grandpa will be here then, so they will be able to help her through it. Do you think you can do that?" "Well, I don't spend too much time at home anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard to play the part. Are you sure you guys can't work it out?" "No, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to drop this on you like this, but you are such a level-headed young woman. I figured the straight truth would be best. I did feel something was wrong, but I thought it had something to do with work. I'm so sorry, Dad. Does she know you now?" "No, she thinks I'm clueless. I was, until Halloween. That is why I had a migraine," I said, making quotation marks with my fingers. "Who is it? Is it anyone I know?" "Well, I guess it will come out anyway, but you can't say anything or let on in any way." "Okay." "Yes, Dad. It's Jack Anderson." "Wow. Does Mrs. Anderson know?" "Not yet," I said. "Wow. Jasmine is going to be devastated. She thinks the world of her dad." "Well, of course she does, KJ." "No, Dad. She is obsessed with him. That is one of the reasons she's going to Wayne State, to stay close to her dad." "I didn't know that. This will probably hurt her badly. You'll need to make sure you help her through this." "I don't think she'll want my help, Dad. It is my mom he's doing it with." "Oh, right. Well, maybe Mr. Anderson and your mom love each other. I'm going to have her served right after we celebrate our Christmas together," I told her. "Wow, that's kind of cruel, Dad." "I know, KJ, but I want to do this before the end of the year. Also, I need to do this for my dignity." There was a long pause. Now I need to tell you the good news, I said, smiling. How can there be any good news? I sure could use some after that bad news, she said. You're going to be receiving an acceptance letter from Cornell within the next 2 weeks. What? Are you sure? Your old man has connections. I didn't get you in, mind you, you did that all by yourself. I just got word. The other news is that I've already arranged to pay for 4 years of tuition in advance. Also, I am paying for room and board, books, and miscellaneous expenses. How can you do that? She asked. That's where I have the connections. Don't worry about a thing, KJ. I've got it all taken care of. You just get good grades and pick a field that you'll love doing. I told you I was going to be an engineer, just like your dad. Now who's obsessed with her old man? I joked. Oh, Dad, I love you. Okay, so take this happy feeling and think on that for the next 3 weeks. Don't let your mother think something is wrong. I demand it. By the way, would your old man be imposing too much if he wanted to take you to see the campus on the 20th of December? You'll miss spending time with your grandparents for a few days. That would be great, Dad. I don't think I'll want to be around Mom when you drop the bomb anyway. I didn't want Melanie to see me, so I parked at the end of the drive with my rental car. KJ got out, grabbed her gear, and ran up to the house as I drove away. Melanie welcomed her home with a hug. KJ played the part perfectly. Did all women deserve Oscars? I knew Melanie had put one over on me. Monday, I checked out of my room, then I spoke with the lawyer. It was a go, the paperwork would be delivered on the 20th. Then I called the florist and told them I wanted the delivery to occur on the 20th. They said they already had it on the calendar. I told them I wanted to put a picture in the box lid and wondered if I could stop by in the afternoon the day before to see the arrangement. I wanted the 17 roses in a circle around a black, fully open rose in the center. The card should say, 17 good, 1 bad. Look under the lid. Oh, I would love to see her face when she opens them. Maybe I can rig up a camera at the front door. I need to find out when her parents are flying in so I can arrange the timing for the florist and the process server. I figured an hour after their arrival should be about right, enough time for them to get their luggage, pick up a rental car, and drive to our house. That afternoon, I returned the rental car and texted Melanie. She texted back, okay, I'll leave now to come get you. I wondered if she would mention me not calling since Thursday night. She could have called me. I didn't feel any remorse. On the way home, I said, can we just pick up Chinese for dinner, or had you already planned something? Chinese is fine. That should be okay with KJ. She's got some great news to share with you. What is it? I'll let her tell you, she said. I can't wait, I said. We picked up Chinese and were home by 6:30. I walked in the door and was almost bowled over by KJ. WKJ, you can't treat your old man like that. You're not old, Dad. You're just 40. So why did I get attacked at the door? I asked. I got in the packet today from Cornell, she screamed. That's great, KJ. You'll be going to our alma mater, I said, looking at Melanie. No, Dad. Cornell University. I looked shocked. Wow, they are one of the premier engineering colleges in the Northeast. When you said you were applying to Cornell, I naturally assumed it was our Cornell. Again, I looked at Melanie. Well, now I feel kind of cheap getting Chinese as a celebration dinner. Oh, Dad, you know I like Chinese. For some reason, I thought of Monty Python. Strange how the mind works sometimes. KJ's joy and enthusiasm made my night go a lot better. I had been dreading spending the night with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I think KJ made a point of keeping the mood happy. I sure appreciate the woman my daughter has turned into. I guess I have to give credit to Melanie for most of that. She was the one with her during her developmental years. At 8:30, I said goodnight. I told them I was beat and headed to bed. At 10 o'clock, Melanie crawled into bed and woke me with her hand on my crotch. I grunted and rolled over onto my stomach. I wondered if she felt guilty. Thankfully, the rest of the week was back to normal, no initiation on her part or mine. It had been almost 4 months. I could hold out 2.5 more weeks. On Tuesday, I went to work and talked with Brad. I want to take some vacation time today and tomorrow, I said. I've got a lot still to do. Okay, let me know if I can help, he said. I went home and pulled out all the photos, cards, birthday, Christmas, anniversary, and even the baby pictures and hospital bills. These would make a great Christmas present for Melanie. She'd have happy memories, then I'd hit her with the flowers, collage pictures, and have the divorce papers served. The first thing in the photo album would be the receipt from the jewelry store for $1,000. It was a lot back then and still is, but it doesn't seem like as much now. Next would be the honeymoon pictures, Niagara Falls. Not a lot of pictures from there. We didn't get out of the hotel room much. Maybe when KJ and I go to Cornell, we could go through Canada and visit the falls. Melanie won't be with me this time. Next in the photo album would be a picture of our first apartment. We weren't there long. We had to buy a house when we found out about KJ. Then, photos from our first vacation, when we drove to see her folks in California. What a long trip, but I enjoyed the drive with my new bride. We stopped at the Grand Canyon, saw the lights of Las Vegas, drove through Death Valley, and got to her parents' house 4 days later. They would be flying in on December 20th this year, just in time to deal with the fallout of this photo album. I thought about that first vacation. Somewhere along the way across America, we conceived KJ. It was a great trip, to be back there, happy with a loyal, wild wife. Next, I would include pictures of her while she was pregnant. For a short woman, she really had a belly on her. I loved pregnant Melanie. She was so loving and needy, and I loved every minute of it. She was having our baby. Then, I wanted to include the hospital bill. Insurance picked up most of it, but we did have some out-of-pocket expenses. I didn't care, whatever it took to get my baby into this world. I started reviewing the bills. Wow, there sure were a lot of costs. Then I saw something that almost stopped my heart, a tubal ligation on a separate bill, ordered on August 8th. That's a month before KJ was born. Why? Who ordered it? What the hell? I had to find out. I couldn't go talk to the doctor. She had passed away in a car accident 15 years ago. Who could I ask? There were 2 other doctors in her practice. Maybe one of them could shed light on this. I grabbed the bill, got in my car, and drove to the OBGYN office. Melanie still used the same practice even after her doctor had died. I walked calmly into the office and asked to see the person who handled the billing. An elderly woman of around 60 came out to talk with me. I'd like to review some old bills, I said. Sure, she said. Let me get your wife's file. They should all be in there. Before we look at these, I need to see if you have authorization to view them. Can I see your driver's license? I showed it to her, and she found the form authorizing me to access my wife's medical information due to HIPAA privacy laws. Luckily, my wife and I had authorized each other, just in case there was a problem. Well, this could be a huge problem. Could we review the bills from when she gave birth to Kate Jane? Sure, that would be toward the back of the file. We just add more recent ones to the front. She found the bills for the delivery. I told her that after about 10 hours of labor, they decided to take Kay by C-section because she hadn't turned yet, so they were worried. At least that's what they told me while I was in the waiting room. The billing nurse was reviewing the bills when she inhaled sharply. What did you find? I asked. Well, Mr. Vainel, you should talk with your wife about this. Let me see the paperwork. I have every right to view them, and you are bound by law to make copies for me if I request them. I grabbed the paperwork from her. When I mentioned the law, there it was. The C-section and tubal ligation were planned a month ahead of time. It was ordered by the doctor at my wife's request. I need copies of all this paperwork. I will be back in 2 hours to pick them up, I said as I stood to leave. Okay, sir. I will have them ready for you. Oh my God, it's been alive for over 17 years. She knew I wanted at least one more baby. I wanted a boy, but if it was another girl, I'd love her just the same. She took that chance from me. I was enraged. I didn't want to drive in my state of rage. I might hurt someone. I just took off walking. I looked at my watch. I needed to be back here by 4:30 to pick up the copies. I wandered around, lost in thought. I don't know where the 2 hours went or where I went, but at 4:30, I was back to get the copies. They had them in a manila envelope, waiting for me at the front desk. I drove home and went straight to the basement. I knew I couldn't be around Melanie right now. I would want to kill her. I needed to be away from her. I planned to go back to the hotel and lay low for the next week. I'd go to work, but then right back to the hotel. I went back upstairs with a suitcase. Melanie was in the kitchen. She had just gotten home. "Honey," I said, "I'm going to be on the road for the next week. The owners want me to troubleshoot the other plants and then visit the customers who have experienced issues in the last 6 months. So, I guess Jack was right. There are problems at your job." "I told you so," she said, snidely. I went upstairs. If I said anything, I would blow up. I had to get out of there. I packed as many clothes as I could into my suitcase. I could buy socks and underwear later. I grabbed my toiletries and closed my suitcase. I walked downstairs. KJ was just getting home. "KJ," I said, "I'm going to be on the road for a week or so, but if you need anything, just call me." She looked at me, sensing something was wrong and that I was angry. "We'll miss you, Dad, but I'm sure you'll get it all straightened out." "Thanks, sweetheart," I said, hugging her. I remembered all the photos and other paperwork downstairs, so I said, "Oh, I need to go down and grab my carry-on." I headed downstairs, put all the photos and paperwork in the carry-on, and hid the laptop. I came back upstairs and hugged KJ, saying to Melanie, "I have to be at the airport by 7 o'clock. I'll leave my car in long-term parking. I'll call you when I check into the hotel." Then I walked out the front door. I drove into Detroit and got a hotel room at an Extended Stay America. It was a nice room with a kitchen. I could camp out here for a week or so. I put my clothes away and sat in the chair, feeling like my whole world was falling apart. I couldn't believe that just a month ago, I was happy and clueless. I sat there for what felt like hours. Melanie had purposely gotten a C-section to cover up the tubal ligation. She had planned it at least a month before. She had faked her contractions to be in the hospital on the prearranged date for the C-section. They had made me wait in the waiting room for hours and wouldn't let me watch. I couldn't believe it. Wow, I guess I'm clueless, I thought. Should I just go back home and confront Melanie? I knew if I did, I would get out of control. I might even get violent. I've never hit a woman before, but I didn't know what would happen. I was seething. I needed to calm down. I had to stick to the plan, at least for the next week. I wouldn't have to look at her. I would need to talk to Brad first thing in the morning. I wanted him to call the plant manager in London. I would like to visit the facility. I was sure I wanted to get out of the country. I didn't want Melanie to be able to find me. My phone rang. I looked at the caller ID. It was KJ. I also noticed it was almost 10 o'clock. Wow, I had been sitting here for almost 4 hours. I answered the phone. "Hello, KJ. Sorry I had to leave so suddenly." "What's up, Dad?" I could tell you were mad. You didn't even hug Mom or wait for her reply when you told her you were leaving. It's worse than I thought, KJ. Where are you? Can she overhear you? No, Dad. I told her I had to run over to Kelly's to get something I had forgotten. I'm in the car at the park. Where are you? I'm at a hotel downtown, closer to work. So you weren't going out of town? She asked. No, honey, I had to get out of the house, away from her. So what happened? I was going through the old photos and paperwork from our whole marriage and found the hospital bills from your birth. I was going to include them in the photo album for a Christmas present. When I reviewed them, I discovered that your mom had ordered the C-section for your birth, and along with that, she had ordered a tubal ligation. I never had a chance to have another baby, whether a boy or a girl. Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. Maybe you should forget all your plans for Christmas and just confront her now and end it. I can't come home now, KJ. If I did, I might hurt her. That's how mad I am. I need a few days to cool off. I'm sorry, Dad. I wish I could do something. What you can do is just act like nothing is wrong. I know that may be hard, but please don't say or do anything that might make her suspicious. I really need this to come out of the blue. I'm sorry for putting you in the middle of this. You know, KJ, that we both love you. This has nothing to do with you. So what are you going to do for the next week? Are you going to go to work like nothing is happening? I will go into work tomorrow and talk to my boss. He knows about the situation, and I will probably take some time off and visit a couple of our other plants. I'll look for a transfer. You can't tell your mom anything. She needs to believe I got fired. Oh, Dad, I can't believe you're going to be leaving me. KJ, I'm not leaving you, and I'm not leaving right away. This will take some time. You know you can always call me and talk to me every night if you want to. It won't be the same, Dad. No, it won't, but we'll make it work. I love you, KJ. I love you too, Dad. Well, you'd better get back home now. Please try not to give Mom any reason to worry, okay? Okay, Dad. I'll call you tomorrow night. Bye, honey. I hung up with tears in my eyes. In the morning, I went into work to talk to Brad. I wanted to let him know what I had found out and also ask him to call the plant manager in London to see if I could do a preliminary walkthrough and meeting with him. I also told him I would like to be fired on the 15th. He told me that he had spoken with the CEO of the company about my situation and was told that I could be fired, and after the divorce proceedings, be hired in London, keeping all my seniority. I would need to assure them in writing that I would work for the London location for at least 3 years. I told Brad that they were being very generous and that I would give my all to this company no matter where I worked. I know you will, Kurt. In fact, I hope you will come back here as soon as you can work it out after those 3 years. I would like to, I said. I've enjoyed all the years I've spent here. I walked out feeling both sad and happy, sad because I was leaving, but happy to have worked for such an excellent company. That evening, while packing for my visit to London, my daughter called. Hello, Dad. How are you doing? I'm doing okay, honey. How are you? Are you holding it together? I'm fine, Dad. Mom said you didn't call her last night. I think you should call her tonight if you're up to it. I'd better. Sorry about that, I forgot. Guess what? Mom got a call from Mrs. Anderson today. Troubles just keep mounting up for them. Jasmine has an STD. Oh my God. I know KJ said Jasmine had an unnatural obsession with her dad, but could she have gotten it from him? Does she have a boyfriend who gave it to her? Mom said that Mrs. Anderson said she doesn't have a boyfriend. She won't say who gave it to her, but she said the boy might not know that he has it. She has to tell him, and if she slept with anyone else, they will have to be informed too. I told her. She said Jasmine has only slept with one guy. Maybe you need to talk to her. She's going to need a friend, and maybe you can help her. Wow, I thought. That a-hole. KJ did say Jasmine was obsessed with Jack. Maybe now we know why. When the whole truth comes out, it will destroy that family. I hate to hear that for Mary's sake. She was a good woman and didn't deserve this. See what you can find out, KJ. Be there for her. I will, Dad. I'm going to visit another plant tomorrow, so I'll probably be out of town for a couple of days. If you need me, you can call me, though. Okay, Dad. Safe travels. Don't forget to call Mom, she said. I will, KJ. I love you. I love you too, Dad. I hung up and thought for a minute. I needed to clear my mind before calling Melanie. I would make it a short call, just to let her know I was still alive. I would try not to show my anger. I dialed her number. "Hi, honey. Sorry I forgot to call you last night. I got in late." "That's okay, honey. I know you're worried about your job. Are you going to be able to fix the problems?" she asked. "I'd better. They're counting on me," I told her. "I know you'll be able to do it. You're great at taking care of issues," she said. "Yes, I am," I thought to myself. I will be taking care of our issues in a way that will surprise her. "I'm pretty beat, Melanie. I'll call you again tomorrow night," I said. "Okay, honey. Sleep tight," she replied. The next day, I drove the 2.5 hours to London. I toured the plant and sat down to talk with the plant manager. He seemed like a great guy. By mid-afternoon, I left the plant and decided to head to the Canadian capital. It would be something to cross off my bucket list, and it would take me about 7 hours to get there. When I arrived, I got a hotel room and called Melanie. It was about 10 o'clock. "Hi, honey. Sorry to call so late. I just got to the hotel. It's been a long day." "That's okay, honey. I'm glad you called anyway. Did you fix anything?" "Not yet, but I talked with the plant manager, and we have a plan," I assured her. "Are you coming home this weekend?" "No, I'll probably be gone until at least Wednesday. I'll miss you." I thought to myself, "You'll have all weekend and into next week to be with your lover. I'll be home before you know it." I had to keep her on her toes and make her worry. If I came home and found her with Jack, I'd make sure she knew about it. "Call me, and I'll make sure to have your favorite dinner ready for you." "Yeah, you want a warning call?" I thought that would be great. I'm beat again. "I'll call you on Sunday, okay?" "That will be okay. I'll talk to you then." I hung up and called KJ. "Hi, Dad. I'm just driving home from being out with Jasmine right now. Can I call you tomorrow?" "Sure, honey. I'll talk to you then. I love you." "I love you too, KJ. Good night." I hung up and went right to bed. I was exhausted. Driving takes a lot out of me. The next morning, I explored the capital and felt excited about fulfilling my goal. I would be traveling a lot soon. Around 6 o'clock, I got a call from KJ. "Hi, Dad. Sorry I couldn't talk with you last night." "No problem, KJ. I hope you could help Jasmine." "I don't know, Dad. She didn't want to talk very much about it. She was scared." "I'm sure she is. Did she tell you about the guy she got it from?" "She said she's only been with one guy, but she wouldn't say anything about him. She was really defensive. She wondered if there was any way she could have gotten it some other way than from him." "KJ," I said, "I want you to know my suspicions. I think her dad may have given her the STD. Don't say anything to her about this, but be ready if she starts to open up. If that's the case, then your mother probably has it too." "Oh, Dad, I hate Mom right now." "Honey, 2 more weeks, then we'll be on the road to Cornell and your grandparents will handle your mom. I'm not sure what they will say or do, but they'll help her through this. You know, when we come back, I'll be getting an apartment to live in. I can't live with her anymore after that. You don't think you can get past this, Dad?" "Honey, what I learned about the tubal ligation totally destroyed any chance of that. I know kids don't want their parents to divorce, but you're not a kid anymore." "Thanks, Dad. I still feel like I'm your little girl." "You always will be, KJ. I love you." "I love you too, Dad. Call me tomorrow, KJ." "I will, Dad. Bye now." "Bye, Dad." The next morning, I drove back to Detroit. I got a hotel room and bought a case of beer. I had nothing planned except a phone call to KJ. I called her. "Hi, Dad. Where are you today?" "I'm back in town. I'm just going to relax in my hotel room tonight." "Can we do something together tomorrow?" she asked. "Sure, honey. What do you want to do?" "After church, I'd like to grab lunch and then go fowling." "What's fowling?" I asked. "Fowling, Dad. It's a combination of football and bowling. They play it in Hamtramck. You could teach me how to throw a football. We could talk and I could tell you what I found out from Jasmine," she said. "I'm pretty sure I won't run into anyone we know in Hamtramck, so that should be okay." We made plans on where to meet, and I said goodbye. Then, I opened a case of beer. I wouldn't drink too much tonight. I didn't want a hangover when I met up with KJ tomorrow. I started thinking about Jasmine. I felt bad for her. I thought my revenge would be limited to Jack and Melanie, and possibly Mary, but I never thought Jasmine would be involved. What a mess. On Sunday, I spent the day with KJ. She told me that Jasmine had said she had chlamydia. I told her I was sure Jack had it too, which clinched it for me. "How do you know that, Dad?" "Let's just say I know someone he slept with who had it." "Well, that kind of fits with what I thought, Dad. Jasmine said she loves the guy she slept with and would never tell who he was. She knew they would never get married, but it didn't matter, she loved him anyway." "Let's just forget about all of that for a while and have fun," I said. "Sounds good, Dad." So we enjoyed our time together. I learned a new sport and had quite a bit of fun. We went out to dinner, and then she went home and I went back to the hotel. I called Melanie and then went to sleep. For the next 3 days, I concentrated on tying up loose ends at work. I started parceling out all my projects to other engineers. They were a little confused, but that would all be explained shortly. Wednesday night, I went home. I had come to terms with her deceit over all these years. I could be in the same room, even in bed with her, and show no emotion. I knew it was only for another week and a half. Melanie seemed glad to see me. "So, how are things at the other plants? Did you get them straightened out?" she asked. "I don't know. I hope so. I did my best," I told her. "Do we have to worry?" she asked. "I don't know," I said, letting her worry. I went to bed shortly after dinner. Melanie didn't even question my early bedtime, nor did she try to initiate anything. I guess everything was back to normal. On Thursday, I went into work and continued to wrap things up. A number of my coworkers noticed that things were odd and wondered if I wanted to grab a drink after work. I told them tomorrow night would be better, as we had plans for then. At home, I started paying bills. I wrote out the checks. Yes, I still wrote checks for bills. I didn't like doing online payments. Then I asked Melanie a question that would come back to bite her. "What do you think? Should we send $1,000 to each of our charities this year?" I knew what her response would be. "1,000? I don't know." "Okay, how about 50 or 75? I countered, not wanting to sound cheap. "Let's do 100, she said. "Okay, we'll do that." I knew what she was thinking. Asterisk, I just saved us $2,700 from what we were going to send. That will buy me 4 purses and 6 pairs of shoes. Asterisk, so I wrote the checks, $100 each to Planned Parenthood, the ASPCA, and the Wounded Warrior Project. I smiled, knowing that this was going to come back to screw her, just like Jack did. Then I said to her, "I'm going to be late coming home tomorrow. Don't hold dinner for me. A few of the guys want to go out for drinks after work." "Okay, honey. Thanks for letting me know. Maybe I'll do something with Mary, then. I should be home by 9 o'clock or maybe a little later." "Okay," I said. "Hey, did you find out what time your parents are flying in next Saturday?" "Yeah, their flight arrives at 3 o'clock. I think I'd like to do our family Christmas before they arrive, if that's okay with you. That way, we can just enjoy our time with your parents and not worry about presents under the tree. I'm behind with the Christmas decorations. I'll have to spend all day tomorrow putting them up. That's okay with me. I'll have to finish up my Christmas shopping tomorrow, then. I won't have time on Saturday, I'll be at work. I'll have them all done by the time you get home." That would be great, honey. A little while later, we went to bed. I smiled as I lay down. My plans were coming together. On Friday, I went out to the bar with my coworkers. They didn't know it would be the last time I did that. On Saturday morning, I got up and started on the Christmas decorations. As I put up the lights, I thought about spending Christmas with the greatest gift I've ever received, my KJ. Why did Melanie have to rob me of any more gifts like that? I put up the decorations with tears in my eyes. Now, I'm not Clark Griswold, but I do have a lot of decorations. It took me until 4 o'clock to get everything up, including the tree. Fake, of course. It wouldn't be right to kill a tree every year just for a month. I stood back and smiled a sad smile. This would be the last time I'd be doing this, at least for the foreseeable future. I had an hour or so before Melanie got home, so I decided to give the lawn one last mow before winter hit. It would also get the last of the leaves out of the yard, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was getting a little chilly, so I went in and put on my Cornell College sweatshirt. Anytime I could get a little dig at Melanie about our good times, I would. As I was finishing up, Melanie came home. I pulled the mower into the garage and thought about the good times at Cornell. They were all tainted now by what she had done to us. I emptied the gas and oil from the lawnmower in preparation for storing it for the winter. I decided to use my sweatshirt to clean up the mower. I didn't care if I got oil on it. I planned on burning it anyway. As I stood by the fire pit, burning some trash, tree limbs, and my sweatshirt, Melanie came out. "Can we order takeout? I'm not feeling well. I think I have a UTI." I smiled and said, "Sure, what do you want?" Then she noticed the sweatshirt in the fire. "Is that your Cornell sweatshirt? Why are you burning it?" "Yeah, I got oil all over it, so I figured I'd just burn it with the yard waste." "That's too bad. I know you love that sweatshirt. We'll have to get you a new one." "So, do you want me to order pizza or something else?" "Pizza is fine. I'll clean up and go pick it up." I took out my phone and called the local pizza joint. I went into the house with a cheery smile on my face. She thinks she has a UTI. Wait until she goes to the doctor. I changed my clothes and then went to pick up the pizza, whistling as I went out the door. I wondered what would happen when she got the news from her doctor that she had chlamydia. Would she put 2 and 2 together and realize what happened to Jasmine? I knew she wasn't good at math, but she could certainly figure that out. The pizza tasted especially hot and good that night. It must have been the extra spice of revenge. I liked it hot, not cold like some people. Monday found me in the office with a smile on my face. "You look like the cat that ate the canary," Brad told me. Sometimes plans just work out, not necessarily exactly how you expect them to, but good nonetheless. "What's so good?" Brad asked. "The shit's about to hit the fan in the Anderson household." "Remind me never to get on your bad side," Brad said. "Today's my last day, Brad. I won't be around for you to get on my bad side," I joked. "I can't believe you want me to fire you 10 days before Christmas. It's all part of the plan. You're trying to save the company, and I'm the 3rd highest paid person here. They wouldn't fire you or the CFO, so I have to go. That is what the other employees will have to be told. They'll work even harder for you, at least for a while. You're devious, Kurt. What kind of severance package do you want? 3 months' wages plus accumulated vacation and personal days." "I'll talk to HR and tell them to keep it quiet," Brad said. "Thanks, Brad. You're a true friend." "So, when do you want to start in London? Would March 1st be too long?" "That should work fine. I'm going to hate to lose you. Hopefully, you'll be back soon. It all depends on the divorce, Brad. Either way, you know I'm only a phone call away and I can come back on an emergency consulting basis. That may happen more often than you think." I left work after packing my stuff and walking out the door with a box of my belongings. I sullenly said goodbye to the few employees I saw on my way out. I got home earlier than usual, but Melanie didn't say much. She was deep in thought. I figured it would take at least a day to get the results from any tests they had run. She must have at least been told she didn't have a UTI. I figured now would be a great time to tell her that I had been laid off. "Honey, we need to talk." Has there ever been good news given after those words? She looked up, concerned. "What is it?" "I got laid off today." I let that sink in. "Oh no, what are we going to do?" she exclaimed. "Well, I'll get my resume together and put it out there, but don't expect any activity until after the first of the year." "It will just be like a little vacation," I said with a smile on my face. "Why are you so happy?" she questioned. "How are we going to survive?" "You should probably put together a resume too." "We may need you to get a real job," I said, trying to keep my tone light. I swear I could see her get visibly sick. "We've got some money in our bank account. We should be okay for a few months," I assured her. "So what do you want to do for dinner tonight? Can we order takeout again? I'm still not feeling good." "What did the doctor say? Another UTI?" "No, she's running some tests. I should know something in a couple of days." "So, pizza again tonight?" I asked. "Let's do Chinese again tonight," she said. "Okay, I'll order it for 6 o'clock. Will KJ be home tonight?" "She should be. We'll need to tell her about your job." "I'm going to lie down until dinner." I went downstairs and started packing up more of my stuff. Saturday would be here before I knew it. At dinner, we informed KJ about my job. She acted surprised, then gave me a knowing look while Melanie went to get some soy sauce. On Tuesday, I spent the day online. Melanie thought I was job hunting when, in fact, I was planning my travels to the different state capitals. I also spent time doing things around the house that I had been putting off. I was really just trying to avoid Melanie. On Wednesday morning, Melanie got a call from her doctor. She wanted her to come in right away. I smiled as she left the house. She would get the terrible news, and I would be happy for the rest of the day. I called Melanie while she was at the doctor's office and told her I was going out to run some errands, so I wouldn't be home until about dinner. When I got home, Melanie was in bed. She told me she had a bug and that the doctor had given her some medicine and told her to get plenty of rest. I went down to the basement and checked out the computer, hoping to catch a phone conversation. "Jack, you a-hole, you gave me an STD." "Yes, I know it was you. Unlike you, I don't sleep with people who could give me an STD." "Well, I guess that is wrong, I did. You're the only one." "No, Kurt didn't give it to me. I haven't slept with him since, well, I can't remember when. August, I guess." "You're the only one, Jack. I guess you can't say the same thing. Does Mary know?" "Well, I hate to even ask this question, but what about Jasmine?" "So you're saying that she got it from the toilet seat?" "That's not what she told Mary. Face it, Jack, you screwed up and it may destroy your family. If I were you, I'd get a lawyer because when Mary puts 2 and 2 together, you're bum as grass. You'll be lucky if she just divorces you." "Never. I wouldn't divorce Kurt and marry you. Why would I want to marry a cheater? You're my only one, Jack, and I've learned my lesson. Never again. You'd better hope Kurt never finds out. He'll kill you and then probably me. Goodbye." Well, she learned, but it's too late. It's all over but the crying. She'll be the one crying this time. Only 3 days left. The saying goes, take your small victories where you can get them. I kept saying it to myself. This was a big victory, though. This one would hopefully teach her a lesson for life. I got into Yahoo Mail and created a fake email address. I was going to warn Mary. I wouldn't send her the video, but I would send her an email. It would read, "Jack has it too. Let her figure it out. Let her investigate." I went back upstairs and started to go through some of the souvenirs and knickknacks. I only kept a couple, she could have the rest. I would take the souvenirs from the Grand Canyon and Vegas. After that, the only thing I wanted to keep that held positive memories for me was KJ. Everything else was tainted by the lie. I threw some steaks on the grill, and KJ and I ate together. Melanie never came down. I told KJ that Mom got some bad news from the doctor. She knew exactly what I meant. Thursday found me looking at apartments. I found one that suited me fine. They were even willing to do a month-to-month lease, provided I paid an extra $100 per month. Of course, I agreed. I started to move some of my stuff from the basement in. I would have to wait on the rest of my clothes until Saturday. When I got home, Mary was sitting on her couch, her head in her hands, crying her eyes out. I mouthed the words to Melanie, "What's wrong?" Acting innocent, Melanie mouthed back, "Jack." I walked out of the room, smiling to myself. Another win. I told Melanie I would take KJ out for dinner so they could have time alone. I could see the guilt on Melanie's face. Another win. KJ and I grabbed dinner at a seafood place. We talked about Jasmine, Jack, and Mom having chlamydia. Then KJ asked me, "Do you have it too, Dad?" I told her that her mother and I hadn't made love in about 4 months, so no, I didn't have it. She looked at me, shocked. "Really? 4 months, Dad? This is hard to talk about with my daughter, but you're a mature young woman, and I think we can keep it, clinical, I guess the word would be. Your mom and I used to have a good intimate life. Then you were born, and she didn't want it anymore. It was not your fault, so don't think that. I had to initiate it every time. Well, that was until July 4th. We got home, and your mother initiated. I was overjoyed. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the beginning of her affair with Mr. Anderson. I think she felt guilty. We did it a few more times over the next month, but again, I had to initiate. Since August, nothing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dad. So am I, KJ, about the whole thing. You're a strong person, you'll get through this. Don't be too hard on your mom. She is going to need you in the next few months. What are you going to do? She asked. Well, today I rented an apartment and have already taken some stuff from the basement over there. That way, after we visit Cornell this weekend, I'll have someplace to go. You'll go back home to your mom and your grandparents. You'll finish out your senior year, enjoy your summer, and then go to Cornell in the fall. Don't worry about me. We'll be talking on the phone all the time. I can stop by every day. I may not be there very long. In fact, my plan is to move by March 1st. In the meantime, I'm going to be traveling. She started to cry, which made me cry too. KJ, I love you. Remember that, no matter what happens, I love you. That just made her cry more. We were making a spectacle of ourselves in the restaurant, and I didn't care. After dinner, we drove around and thought happy thoughts. I didn't want to come into the house with tears in our eyes. I didn't want to give anything away to Melanie. Mary had left. Melanie said she was going home to tell Jack to pack and leave. I told Mary that if things got too bad tonight, she could come back here and stay the night. I hope that was okay. Sure, honey, no problem. This was a little bit like the movie we saw. Funny how life imitates art sometimes. I hope for Melanie's sake that Mary never finds out that the other woman is her. Now would be a perfect time to send another anonymous email, but that would wreck my plans, so I'll have to wait on that. Mary did come over, but Jack refused to leave. What did he have to lose? Mary would go see a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I thought about giving her the name of my lawyer, but thought better of it. Again, I didn't want to wreck my plans. I went to bed, leaving them to talk. I was thinking to myself that London, Ontario, would get me out of the country, and if I knew my wife, which I thought I did, she would probably move back to California as soon as KJ graduates. That would put an entire continent between us and only a 5-hour drive to see KJ at Cornell. Awesome. I didn't want to be a pest, but I'd see her at least once a month. I hoped she didn't mind. I put my phone on the charger, turned over, and went to sleep. Friday morning, I did some honeydews around the house. I wouldn't miss the house, It was too big and impersonal for me. I would miss the memories, though. We had spent the last 10 years in this house. I told Melanie I had to run some errands and left. I called the lawyer to ensure that we were set for serving the next day at 4 o'clock. I needed it done at 4 o'clock on the dot, I said. No problem, they replied. It was already set up. Then I swung by the florist. I went in with my collage of Melanie and Jack in hand. I asked the person behind the counter if I could see the delivery. She took it out of the cooler and lifted the lid off the box. Perfect. 17 red roses in a circle around a full-bloom black rose in the center. I took the lid and asked for some double-sided tape to attach the collage to the lid. Then I covered it lightly with tissue paper, leaving a corner open so she would notice it when she looked under the lid. I made sure the card read, 17 good, 1 bad. Look under the lid. I also made sure they knew it was to be delivered precisely at 3:55 tomorrow afternoon. They assured me it would be. I paid the bill with the extra delivery charge and told the woman that I wouldn't be there to give the driver a tip, so if she could give the driver a tip when they returned, I'd appreciate it. I handed her $20. Then I went back home. That night, I slept like a baby. I woke up at 8 o'clock and made a big home-style breakfast. KJ was already down and had started the coffee. I took out eggs, waffle mix, bacon, ham, sausage, biscuits, and gravy. I was going all out. It took me over an hour, but we finally sat down to eat. Eat till you're full, you never know where your next meal is coming from, was an expression my dad used to say. KJ always got a kick out of that. This time, I think it hit home for Melanie. We sat around and relaxed after breakfast. I told them I would be grilling steaks for lunch around 2 o'clock. I wanted to just relax today, spending time as a family because family is what's important, especially this time of year, especially this year. We talked about past Christmases. It was bittersweet going down memory lane with them. At 1:15, I turned the oven on and put 3 big baked potatoes in a sweet potato casserole to cook. I started the grill up around 1:45 and threw 3 big porterhouse steaks on. I then went in and started making us each a salad. KJ came into the kitchen and said, "Let me do that, Dad. You go watch the grill." "Thanks, KJ. You're the best." I stood in front of the grill, reviewing my life. Bittersweet was a good word for it. We ate lunch and continued to enjoy each other's company. Around 3 o'clock, we went into the living room and started opening the presents. We always save the big ones for last. My presents were the usual: socks, underwear, pants, shirts, everything a guy needs. They had also gotten some of that, but KJ had received a lot of extra presents from both her mom and me. Then I gave a present to KJ. She opened it, a new, slightly used laptop computer, wiped clean, of course. "This should last you at least through your first year at Cornell," I said. "Thanks, Dad," KJ said. Then Melanie gave me a box. I wondered what it could be. There was a card attached. I opened it and read, "To the best husband in the world. I hope you can use this." I opened it, and it was a new briefcase. Well, my old one was about 18 years old. I smiled and thanked her. "I sure can." Then I handed her my present for her. She opened the box. It was the photo album scrapbook. She looked at it and opened the front cover. Inside, I had written, "Our time together." The first picture I had put in the book was of the algebra book that had brought us together. We still had it on the bookshelf. Then there were pictures of us dating, our diplomas, engagement ring receipt, wedding reception, honeymoon, our first apartment, our first trip out to California. I had put a caption, "Kate Jane was conceived somewhere along the way." Then there were pregnant pictures, first baby pictures, birthday cards and party pictures, our first home, vacations, Disney World, our second house, elementary graduation, middle school graduation, KJ and soccer, basketball, volleyball. She was taking her time reliving the memories. I said to KJ, "Let's clean up this mess." KJ and I picked up all the wrappings and packaging, took her gifts to her room, and mine to the car. We came back inside at just the right time. I looked at my watch, 3:54. She turned the last page. It was blank except for a caption, to be added in 5 minutes. Just then, the doorbell rang. "Can you get the door, Melanie?" I said. As she turned to answer it, I turned and walked out of the house to my car. KJ followed behind. The florist presented Melanie with the box of flowers. She opened the box and saw the 17 red roses and the 1 black rose. Then she picked up the card and read it. She turned the lid over and looked at the tissue paper. She pulled on it, and it ripped. Then she saw the picture. It didn't dawn on her what it was a picture of, so she studied it for a minute. Even from the driveway, I could see her face go white. She looked up and saw a woman approaching. The woman said, "Are you Melanie Van Howe?" Yes, I am," she said. "You have been served." She handed her the manila envelope and also a card. Melanie opened the card, "To my wife of 18 and a half years. H is for honor, E is for emotions, A is for adoration, R is for respect, T is for trust. L is for lies, I is for infidelity. HART/L plus I equals D." She fainted. The process server called 911 and we waved and drove away. The next part of the story is information I gleaned from friends, neighbors, her parents, lawyers, and some surmising on my part. The ambulance showed up and was able to revive Melanie with smelling salts. They checked all her vitals and asked if she wanted to go to the hospital. She told them no. As they were leaving, her parents drove up. They rushed to the house, wanting to see what had happened. They found Melanie on the couch with the manila envelope lying beside her on the floor, the contents half out. "What happened, Melanie? Are you all right?" her mom asked as her dad picked up the envelope. "Kurt filed for divorce," Marge said. "Melanie, what happened?" They looked around and saw the photo album and the box of flowers. Her mom picked up the photo album and started paging through it. "Why, this is wonderful, honey," she said to her daughter. Her dad had picked up the box of flowers, noticed the black rose, and then the card. He looked around and found the lid pushed under the coffee table. His wife looked over at him as he gasped. She looked at the lid, her eyes going wide. She turned to Melanie and said, "You didn't." Melanie burst out crying. They gathered everything up and brought it to the kitchen table, laying everything out, with the lid turned over so no one could see the picture. Her dad took the papers out of the manila envelope as her mother said, "You two can get past this, but it is going to take a great deal of effort on your part, Melanie." Then her dad said, "I don't think they can get past it, dear." She turned to look at him. He opened up a paper that looked like a hospital bill. It looked old. Then he looked at his daughter. "You got your tubes tied after the cesarean," he said. Melanie's eyes went wide. She screamed and passed out again. Her mother got a cool, damp towel and put it on her head. When she came to, she looked empty. Her dad said, "Melanie, you're my daughter, and I will always love you, but you are not my favorite person right now. I can't believe you did that to your marriage, either cheating or getting your tubes tied." He might have been able to forgive the affair. Women do strange things when they are approaching 40. He looked at his wife. She looked away. But he wouldn't be able to forgive you getting your tubes tied without his knowledge. You know how he wanted at least one more child. Remember, Marge, they were trying for years. She took that from him. She's been carrying this lie since Kaylee was born. They reviewed the divorce paperwork. Her dad questioned her, "Could this be right? Your household net worth is about $65,000. Melanie said, "No way, Dad. We've got investments, cash in the bank, 401k, in the house. We should have a net worth over $600,000. Well, that is not what this says. He must be hiding money. We'll need to get a lawyer and find out where the money is." That's what they did. I was called to court at the end of January. I had to come back from a road trip out west. I stood before the judge with my lawyer. The lawyer had told me this was one of the liberal judges. She almost always sides with the woman in divorce cases. She asked me point blank, in reviewing the account statements from the 1st of November, your net worth in home equity, investments, savings, and 401k was over $600,000. In the divorce proposal you submitted, you state that the net worth is about $65,000. How do you account for the difference? Your Honor, $250,000 of that went to prepay my daughter's tuition to Cornell University starting this fall. That brings the total down to $350,000. $300,000 of that were donations to two of my wife's and one of my favorite charities, $100,000 apiece. That leaves around $65,000 net worth. Here are all the receipts and canceled checks, Your Honor. My lawyer walked up and gave them to her. I continued, of course, the $65,000 is an estimate depending upon what we get out of our house. The other assets are cars and personal items, which are all paid off. She keeps her car, and I keep mine. You mean to tell me that you sent $300,000 to charity? What charities? Did you discuss it with her beforehand? The judge asked. Yes, I discussed it with her on the 11th of December, the same day I wrote the checks. We were sitting in the kitchen. I was paying bills and said to my wife, "How much do you want to send to our favorite charities this year, honey?" $1,000, she said. No, I said. What, 50 or 75? Then she came back with, no, let's do 100. So that is what I did. I wrote 3 checks, one to Planned Parenthood for $100,000, one to the ASPCA for $100,000, and one to the Wounded Warrior Project for $100,000. My wife is very generous with our money. I meant $100, not $100,000, my wife said loudly. The judge looked at me. Planned Parenthood and the ASPCA were 2 of her favorite charities. She couldn't tell them to give it back. The Wounded Warrior Project was not one of her favorites, but it was near and dear to a lot of voters, so she could do nothing regarding that one either. Then Melanie said loudly, "He gave me an STD." Before the judge could say anything, I said in a controlled, angry tone, "Your Honor, I have never had an STD, nor have I ever had intimate with anyone who could have given me an STD. Perhaps you should ask my wife if she can say the same thing." So she had spoken to Jack since I had sent the Merry Christmas email saying, "Merry Christmas. I hope you liked your present." I included a picture of himself with the housewife hooker, then I signed it, KVH. Sir, infidelity is not part of this court proceeding and is not grounds for divorce in this state. We are here to determine where the money has gone. Typically, a divorce judgment includes an agreement that the child's schooling be paid for. You have done that in advance. I can't make the charities give back the money, so I'm going to split the $65,000 between the 2 of you and add spousal support of $40,000 per year for 3 years to allow your wife to find sufficient employment. My lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client is unemployed. He lost his job before Christmas and has been unable to find gainful employment in this state. He has expanded his search to other states, still with no success. So we request that support be waived until he can find employment in this state or any other. So be it. Spousal support to commence upon employment in this state or any other, ending in 3 years, the judge said. I smiled inwardly, thinking she didn't say anything about another country. Your Honor, my lawyer said, could we get a judgment on the divorce at this time? Do the 2 parties agree on the divorce? My client does, my lawyer said. I looked over at Melanie. She looked at me with hatred and sadness in her eyes. My client does also, Melanie's lawyer said. She knew we would never reconcile. The tubal ligation was too much to put behind us. So be it. House to be sold, and profits to be split. My lawyer said it was the fastest divorce he'd ever witnessed. So, after a month of hiking around Europe, I started my job in London, Ontario. I told them I would be there for at least 3 years, but might want to transfer back to Detroit after that. I also told them that I would work hard as hell during those 3 years to make it the best run plant in the company. I left my marriage virtually broke, but so was she. The difference, however, was that I could live very cheaply, and in 15 years, with wise investments, I would be able to increase my net worth to $1 million. 15 years later, well, life doesn't always go as planned. I did move back to Detroit after 3 years. I did leave the London plant as the best-run plant in the company. I moved back as the plant manager. Brad retired and had put in a good word for me. Melanie moved back to California. She is living with her parents, helping them out in their old age. She dated a few men, but nothing came of it. I wonder if it was because of her or them. Maybe when she told them the truth, if she did, about how her marriage failed, they got cold feet. I'd like to think so. KJ, now married with 2 kids, is an engineer and is actually working at the New Jersey plant, doing quite well. I put in a good word for her to do her internship there, and they liked her so much they offered her a job when she graduated. Mary took Jack to the cleaners. I think he must have had enough money to make it to Lansing, because that is where he ended up as a used car salesman. Jasmine went through a few years of therapy and met a nice man. They're married with 2 kids. So, you may be asking yourself how life has not gone as planned for me. Well, I moved back to the Detroit area. As I said, I wanted to do more for our veterans, so I would visit the VA facility and try to be an advocate for them. As I was doing this, I met Tom Jackson, a vet who had contracted cancer, probably from the chemicals used in Afghanistan. I got to know him quite well during the 8 months that he struggled to overcome it. He ultimately lost the battle. Before he died, he talked to me. "Kurt, I want to ask you a huge favor, one that I believe you will ultimately enjoy." "What is it, Tom?" "I want you to take care of my family," he said. He had a wife and 3 boys. "Sure, Tom, I'll watch out for them." "No, Kurt, I know you as an honorable man, and I've seen the way my wife looks at you. I guess what I'm saying is that you have my blessing if you could see it in your heart to have another family." His wife was 10 years younger than me. They had 3 boys, ages 3, 6, and 8. It would definitely be a new family. "I'll look after them no matter what," I said. "And if Cheryl and I find an attraction after we date for a while, I would be honored. Understand that they will never forget you," he said. "I won't let them," I promised. So, at 45, I married Cheryl Jackson, née Vandermeer. She was of Dutch descent from the other side of the state. There is a large Dutch community over there. There's even a town named Holland. It makes sense, with the large body of water, the dunes, marshes, and rivers. It makes more sense than Iowa. So instead of living cheaply and working my net worth to $1 million, I got a family with 3 boys, live in Bloomfield Hills, and am doing all right. I love my new life. Oh, one more thing. I saw Melanie at KJ's college graduation. She looked hollow, even after 4 years. She made a point of coming over to see me and then gave me an envelope and said, "I'm really sorry." I put the envelope in my coat to open it another time and enjoyed the graduation. On the plane back to Detroit, I opened the envelope. It was a handwritten letter from Melanie. "Kurt, first of all, let me say I am sorry. When you divorced me, I was so angry at you for disposing of all our assets. 18 years of marriage, and I walked away with $333,000. My parents tried to console me, then they paid for a therapist and made me go. It's taken 3 years to get to the point where I can say I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry for so many things. My therapist thinks, and I have to agree, that the reason I cheated was because I was nearing 40 and couldn't believe what I had done to us. I needed to feel wanted, needed, and loved, and I couldn't ask you for it. I had withheld intimate from you ever since Kay was born, making you beg for it. I now know it was because I foolishly had my tubes tied. I hid that from you and lied to you every time you wanted intimate. I felt the guilt and shame and couldn't tell you what I had done. If you remember, I had just read the book about zero population growth and really believed in it. As you now know, I had already made plans with my doctor to have a cesarean, and while she was in there, she performed the procedure. I knew you wanted more kids, at least one more, but I was selfish. That caused the rift between us. Our relationship was never the same. You still loved me though and poured more love on our daughter. You were a great father and husband. I know there is no possibility of reconciliation, but I want you to know that my affair was in no way due to anything you did or didn't do. It was all me. They say the ultimate revenge is a life well lived. I know you will have that ultimate revenge. You deserve it. Regretfully yours, Melanie. I must admit, I cried, smiled, and cried again. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.